Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. Appreciate you coming on in tonight. This is Rob G on the After Hours. Here we are on a Saturday, getting ready to get it in, guys. I want to go ahead and hurry up and jump in the chat before we start the radio show, which should be going down in about 2.5 minutes here. So let me see who I can get in. Before that happens, we got Race Fan coming in with the gold. We have Paranormal coming in with the silver. We got Drew Banky in the building with the bronze, saying, what's up, family? See you in the third hour. Yes, sir. That is a fact. That will be the case tonight. We have Roger Murray. Roger Murray is stepped in the building. We have Melvin from Mars, WD-40, lubing us up, getting us ready to get in the show. We do appreciate you coming on in. Who else we have? We got Kurt M. Kurt M has stepped in. Appreciate you showing up, Kurt M. Moving down. We just, yes, Miss Catherine Jones is in the building as well, saying, hey, Mr. Rob G and SOR fans. We have Angels Are Life Nikki in the building as well, saying good evening. Good evening, Nikki. Who else do we have? We have Aloha Dave saying, buenas noches a todos de Mexico. Good evening to everyone from Mexico. Obviously, Aloha Dave always keeping us bilingual, and you know we appreciate it all the time. Who else do we have? We have Paranormal. Paranormal has stepped in the building, and that actually worked out because we are all caught up at the moment, and we're going to have a great show for you tonight. We're going to have a really, really great show. Waiting for our guests to come in, and we will be able to get this thing underway on this Saturday. So we got about a minute left here before we start the radio. Just want to know how everybody is doing. Obviously, I just saw you yesterday, right? I just saw you yesterday and the day before, which we had some awesome shows, right? So let's take time to talk about that. If you missed any of those, awesome interview with Kevin Day, bananas, right? So definitely jump into archives, youtube.com, and check that out. It was a fantastic conversation. Same with Christian McLeod. New friends, man. We are all new friends, and you know, it sometimes it falls like that, resonates, right? Resonates with one another. So happy that was the case. And hey, Flat Six, thanks for coming in. as we prepare to get ready to jump onto the radio side of this. Give us just a few minutes, and here we go. All right. Looks like it's doing a 30-second countdown. And who else do we have? Anybody at the buzzer? Who's at the buzzer? Anyone at the buzzer? As we welcome our guest tonight in a moment here, Jason Gleaves is in the UK. If you know what time it is in the UK, it's like 4 a.m. So, bless him for definitely stepping in and joining us. But here we go. Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I'm your host, Mr. Rob G. And tonight, we're broadcasting to our listeners on terrestrial radio across North America and digitally on all platforms around the world. Remember, you can access our archives for absolutely free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on X and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio and at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website, thespacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire. You should get some official Spaced Out swag. Plus, you can rock out with Bumblefoot and oh so much more. Yes, we're going to have a great show for you tonight. We have Jason Gleaves is going to be joining us here in a little bit from the UK, all the way from the other side of the world for hours 1 and 2. And then in hour 3, we should be being joined by Jax Harmon with the Paranormal Report. And then maybe as well, special guest, our guy who you saw in the chat, our Sunday guy, Drew Banky. So, and by the way, might as well say this as we wait for our guest to come on in. Sunday is, so tomorrow's show, there won't be a show tomorrow because I actually had a previous engagement that was scheduled a couple months back, which will take me away from the studio tomorrow. But Dave Scott will be back on Monday through Friday. As far as I know, I haven't heard anything different. 9 p.m. until midnight, conducting the Woot Train. Should be some awesome stuff coming up. Paranormal. Rob got engaged. Yeah, I'm always engaged. I'm engaged in all sorts of activities, and that's just me, man. I'm always engaged, right? Yeah. So, and I engage the audience. At least I think I do. Let me know if that's the case or not. Rob's got a girlfriend. Flat 6 is funny. That's my guy though. Flat 6. Shout out to Flat 6. Yeah, we're going to be waiting for our guests here. Yeah, it's logistically, you have to think about it, right? We do these live shows. Luckily, I'm on the West Coast, right? So for me, I don't know where you currently are listening or watching this from, but on the West Coast, it's 8 p.m., right? We have a guest coming in tonight, or this morning for the guest, who's literally on the other side of the world in the UK, where it is currently 4:09 a.m. 4:09 a.m. for our guest. So, he might be doing his hair real quick and getting everything together as it is very, very early in the morning. So we're just going to hang out right now. No big deal as we wait for our guest to come through and see what you guys got going. If you have any questions, let's do some AMA right now. AMA, just ask me anything. Ask me completely anything until we get Mr. Jason Gleaves from Ufonly, who is a passionate ufologist and researcher, proven track record of investigating extraterrestrial phenomena. The gentleman's been in many documentaries, has authored some books, graphic novels, and it's going to be interesting once we get him up in here. So AMA, hello, Nick. Thanks for coming on in and saying hello. Appreciate you showing on up here tonight on this Saturday night, the after hours radio show. Let's be real. And we are on a timer, right? So when the breaks come up. We got about 19 minutes to the next break. So we may be Um, we may be hanging out a little bit. We may be hanging out in that Chill Farm, Brisbane. One of the two is right. Yeah, let me bring that up here. Actually, Susie Hansen. Yeah, we had her booked, and she had an emergency that kind of took her away for a second. So she won't be next week. She was scheduled for next week. We're currently in talks of rescheduling. She has to get some rest and kind of. I told her I'm sending her healing energies, and she said thank you. But yeah, Susie Hansen will be joining us soon, but unfortunately, it's not next week. Next week we have the UFO twins, which is going to be very interesting. Is I know they're getting into hybridization, secret programs. If you saw the thumbnail, it's going to be actually pretty awesome. And yeah, I can't wait. But Chill Farm, I will notify you the moment that we have the new date set for um, Susie Hansen. And I like this. So, see how we are living. See, do you think Luis Elizondo's book will live up to the hype? Yes. I think it will. Here's the thing with Lou Elizondo, as we all know, has been a guy who he speaks in riddles and rhymes, right? And it's always the case. And he tells you that. He tells you you kind of got to read between the lines. And I think when you're under NDAs or gag orders or whatever they want to call it, you kind of have to learn how to speak in between the lines, or kind of speak in riddles so that others read between the lines to get what it is you're saying. Um, you know, and I think because of that, because Lou is that type of person, I would assume that he did not let everything out initially. So I think there's still some things that he may have held close to the vest. Now, I will say this: I did see Bryce Zabel speak on this yesterday. Bryce Zabel and Ross Coulthard over on the Need to Know podcast. Shout out to them. They actually kind of hinted towards the fact that, well, Bryce did, because Bryce received a copy of the book. He was able to read from someone. He said, I don't think it was from the publisher. He did not say that, but he actually did hint around and say there was some interesting things in there. He did say that, a lot of us within ufology probably know most of the stuff that's going to be said there, which I can imagine that be the case, because he's going to retell that story for sure in more detail. But there's definitely going to be a couple things in there that Bryce alluded to that said would be surprising. So I have my book. I officially pre-ordered the book, and I will have it on release day. And I am going to sit down and go through the entire thing. So I want to I want to soak it all in, and I want to be able to come back. So what is that? The 20th is let's see, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So the 20th is on a Tuesday. So that gives me Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to go ahead, absorb the information, and then process it. I'll put up some bullet points. And then on that Saturday, when we come back with the UFO twins on that show, we can go ahead and discuss it. So just so you guys know, and I didn't know this, I ordered the audio book, right? So you can actually sit down and listen to Lou Elizondo read the book. So that's what I'm going to do. And I recommend some of you guys go ahead and do that too, because it's going to be some good talking points and some things we could probably all talk to, especially here in the chat. So with that being said, it looks like we got our guest. Like I said, it's so early in the morning out there, and we're going to have to really thank Jason Gleaves for taking the time to get up out of bed, man, and come do our show tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you guys please show your love and appreciation for the man tonight, Mr. Jason Gleaves? Hello, Jason.
Hi there, Rob. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine, Jason,
Oh,
and
brilliant.
totally appreciate you coming on in. I know it's so early there, and I'm just glad that I really appreciate you making the effort to come on in and join us tonight.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm having a couple of technical issues, but I think we're getting there. It's one of those things, when you try and set up and trying to get the light, so
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
can see
Oh,
it. Yeah.
believe me, I've been working on lighting forever, and I don't even think I got mine perfect yet. But I really do appreciate. I've been looking forward to speaking to you. And like I said, I was telling everyone. Let me go ahead and read your bona fides right here again. We got Jason Gleaves. You're with Ufonly, which we'll definitely be talking about. Passionate ufologist and researcher with the proven track record of investigating extraterrestrial phenomena. International author with expertise in ufology, offering extensive knowledge through books and multimedia platforms, experience in TV documentaries, skilled in 3D model making, which I did see some of that, and I would love to talk to you about that as well. Former Royal Air Force and British Aerospace Airbus division member. And I did check out some of your documentaries. Jason Gleaves is all over the place. He's the guy. And here we are. So what I would like to do. We have about 12 minutes before we go to our first break. I just would like to spend some time getting to know you and kind of seeing like what brought you to doing what you do today. Like, did you have any experiences growing up young, and kind of what led you to where you're at?
Yeah. Well, I got into ufology pretty much when I had a sighting with my sister when I was age 7 years old in Liverpool, in the UK. Um, we were playing in our grandparents' house, and we both saw a silver disc-shaped objects hovering outside the window. And that age, you don't really know an awful lot of anything. We're talking about 1977, so it was like just before Star Wars and things like that. I had no interest in ufology at all. And we saw this craft object, and then it took off at high velocity. And then we just carried on playing as if nothing had happened at all. Um, Pretty weird and everything. And I actually forgot about the incident till much later on in life, and my sister reminded me of what had actually happened. Do you remember when we saw that craft outside the window, and the actual thought and experience had gone completely from me, and it slowly came back slowly. So that's really where it started for me, and then I would start to read obviously the literature at the time. So we had like an unexplained magazine you could buy. It's like Loch Ness Monster and you
Hmm.
know UFOs and all these weird and wonderful people. Combustion, people just going in on fire, etc. And then obviously you go to the library to get your books, you would start reading, and then the TV shows were very sparse, but it was the likes of Arthur C. Clarke. He had a Mysterious World TV show, and again it was all Loch Ness Monster, ghosts, UFOs, and slowly getting introduced to that side of it. And then things would go quiet and things, and then obviously later on in my life in the military career, I was at a base, RAF Cosford in the UK here, which is near Birmingham, central England. And basically I was on base when we had a huge black triangle come down over the base. It's all documented. You can go on the internet and read up on, and go through all the paperwork came out. The MOD released all the papers a few years back, the official papers. So I wrote about it in one of my books, and it was basically a young airman on the guard post of the airfield, and he was there about 1 o'clock, well, late evening into an early hours of the morning in March of 1993. and he was screaming down the radio to get the guard commander out to the guard post, because he was there on his own, obviously. And when the RAF police and the military personnel all went out to the guard post to assist this airman, when they all got there, they all saw this large black triangle hovering over the airfield. And then it took off at high velocity again, and went on to another RAF base, RAF Shawbury, which was nearby. And the on-duty air traffic controller there actually got a lock onto it, and were actually he saw it firing very small, thin laser pens down towards the ground, and his impression were that it was actually looking for something. It was one of those weird and wonderful cases in the UK. So yeah, that really, things have gone up and down since then. And then it was later on that I actually got into ufology, where I started to analyze photographs and images for people of famous cases. So I, debunk some of them, and obviously some of them I would actually, in my opinion, I would think they were real. And that's how it sort of grew on from there. And then I started to do them for other people, and then it's just one of those journeys that you never knew you were going to go on, and things just slot into place all the way along.
Yeah, it's definitely once you get exposed to it, you can't help but just jump down the rabbit hole. I would like to know. I mean, you were at the Royal Air Force, and so I guess insight into how it goes in the UK as far as the transparency. You said the MOD released the UFO files out there. In the moment of the triangle sighting, was it something that was publicized, or was it kept under wraps, or how did they approach that then?
At the time, it was obviously kept under wraps, quite an awful lot. It had been released since, obviously, the papers. The MOD recently, within the last few years, released all the UFO papers, so they're there for everyone. You can get to them, and it was just there. It was really, you could see all the reports that were wrote by the police that were on duty at the time, what they saw and what happened. So it sort of backs up the case of what actually happened. It was one of those. It was at the time in the 90s when a lot of UFOs were seen of that particular style and shape, the triangle shape. I'm in two minds whether it was ours or military. Over the years, I've swayed from, is it ours, or is it a COVID craft that we obviously didn't know at the time. During that time, you started to get the stealth fighter coming out and things like that. So people had not seen that shape of craft before. But over the decades, the shapes of objects people have seen have changed. You've got obviously your disc-shaped craft, UFOs that everybody knows when you talk about a UFO. But since then, you've got discs, elongated, cylindrical shaped. Obviously, people have seen orbs, which are more modern day things. People have seen an awful lot of orbs. Oval, elliptical shape. You name the shapes, people have seen UFOs regarding in relation to that object and shape, size. So yeah, but the Cosford thing is more mainstream in the UK ufology background, because got Rendlesham Forest and places like the famous cases, and I think Cosford is certainly up there with it.
What do you think? As we have about about over 4 minutes to break, what do you think is the theory? What is your theory, rather, behind all these different shapes? It seems like back in the day, in the 40s, we're talking about discs, and then it changed, like you said, to all these other shapes over time, triangles. What do you think is the idea behind that? Do you think these are different species with different ships, or do you think the ships are evolving as time goes?
You're slightly breaking up there, Rob.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was saying, do you think over, since the 40s, since it started with disc shapes and then progressed over time, do you think that's a natural progression just because of time, or do you think those are different species being represented?
I believe the Earth's been visited by many different species of people have gone through, and you can see many shows and people that have had experience with the different types, the Nordics, the reptilians, the small greys, etc. But again, it's a bit like humans. We're going to have different cars. We all drive different cars, different shape sizes. I think you're going to get different shapes of UFOs, and obviously to do with the technology they've got to what they can do. I used to think many years ago it was always nuts and bolts. Unless an object was nuts and bolts, then it didn't exist or anything. But now people are starting to realise, and a good friend of mine, Peter Slattery in Australia, we go into multidimensional craft now. So people are talking things, obviously, lights in the sky, but things are going through different dimensional. The orbs, that they're a different type of craft. I'm pretty much sure. So it's just over the decades you've had different, more often than not, you've had a certain type of craft that's seen. And in the 90s was obviously the triangle, but orbs and disc-shaped objects were seen then as well. I'm just saying. It seems to be that way. You would see more of a certain type, or more of a certain type was reported.
Yeah, and that's true. And out here in the States with the whole the UAP report, when it was finally released, and it actually ended up mentioning different shapes, which for some reason they redacted originally shapes. They wouldn't tell us the shapes, what type of shapes we're looking at. I have a theory behind why I think they did that, but it really appears that most of the ones that they say are unknown at this point are the spheres, translucent and white silver spheres. They had the sphere, I guess we got about a minute left. We had the silver sphere against the Mosul orb. As a researcher, do you get a lot of those reports out that way in the UK? Are you guys seeing things like that?
Yeah, I'm seeing stuff from people from all over the world. It's not just the UK or the States, Mexico, Cuba, Brazil, everywhere. But we are seeing an awful lot of the orb shaped. If you look at a lot of Peter Slattery's footage, I'd advise anyone to go and look at his stuff, because I've analysed things for him an awful lot. If you look at James Gilliland at the ECETI Ranch, Mount Adams, all these places where I've done footage, I've analysed what I've seen of what they've given me to analyse. You've got an awful lot of orbed shaped craft. People are reporting seeing an awful lot of orbs. But I do believe that these are a certain type of craft again, and it's just people. We've got to start thinking outside the box in relation to the different types of craft that you see.
Okay, well, right there, as we go ahead and get ready to jump into our first break of the night with Jason Gleaves, ufologist and researcher. We'll come back. A lot more things to talk about tonight. You guys don't go anywhere as we come back with the second half of hour number one right here at Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are clear. And Jason, this is a 5-minute break. So if you need to do anything real quick, because I know we kind of jump right into it, you can go ahead and take care of it.
Okay, I'll just get me stuff set up. I was got right here, but at least we got there in the end.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you too. Take your time. We'll be back in 5 minutes. And just so you know, Jason, they can still see us on YouTube, just so you're aware during our breaks. Okay. All right. Actually, let me say hello to a few of you here who came in. And I know someone asked, yeah, Country Carpenter asked if Dave rested up and okay. Yeah, Dave is great. Just spoke to him a moment ago, right before the show. And he was actually going out to Tim Hortons. If you're in Canada, you know exactly what that is. I think I know what that is, but they don't have those down here where I'm at in the States. But he was on his way there with his lovely wife. Mark Eddy, thanks for coming in, saying enjoying the show. And we're just getting it going. We're just getting started here. Our guest tonight, Jason, is into a lot of great stuff, and it is going to be fantastico. So you guys don't go anywhere. Race fan, UFOs are real, but seeing a light in the sky uh, is just that, a UFO. Now, if you see a structured craft on the ground, that is not a UFO, it's an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Okay, race fan, appreciate you with your input here. Let's see, who else do we have? Daniela. Daniela, thank you for coming on in. This guy in Brazil has set up cameras in the Amazon 24/7. I would love to see those cameras, Danielle. I know they are catching wild stuff. Mike Rivers, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you showing up here tonight. And Joanne, hello everyone. Hello, and Joanne, thanks for coming in. Hetty, thanks for coming on in. From X, yes, with the spaceship emojis. We appreciate you. Willard Wright, thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming in. Kelly Borat, appreciate you. As we get about a minute left, roughly, to come back from break. Who else do we have? Paranormal is hilarious. Clip notes and Elizondo's book. UFOs may or may not exist, and they may or may not be piloted by folks from somewhere else. Yeah. You got to read between the lines with Lou. You already know. Be prepared for that, actually. I'm pretty sure you'll have to do that. He wrote the book himself, is what I hear. So it'll probably be written in code as well. And Brown Dwarf. Appreciate you coming on in, Brown Dwarf. J True Seeker, thanks for coming in. Adesh, thanks for coming in. Hi from Trinidad and the Caribbean, however you want to say it. Just appreciate you showing up. Carl Bittner, thank you for coming in. So you're ready to come back from break? All right, everybody, thanks for coming back with us. Spaced Out Radio, hour number 1 on the back end. We're back with our guest here, Jason Gleaves, ufologist and researcher, based in the UK, but researching all over the world, talking UFOs, craft. He's into some amazing things that we're going to go ahead and get into tonight. So you guys make sure you sit tight, don't go anywhere. SpacedOutRadio.com, the After Hours Radio Show. As we go ahead and jump back into the conversation here, Jason. So, all right. So we were talking about the different types of craft. What do you think the purpose is? If you had to give your theory, what do you think the real purpose is for this ET visitation? What do you think their main goal is?
I think, in my opinion, they've never left. They've always been here. They've probably been here an awful lot longer than we have, humans as we know as today. I really think that there are many different theories to people that are abducted. They're here for testing people, DNA. We can go through multiple different things, that people have come up with. It's always an opinion because we don't really know. But I do believe that they've always been here. I don't think it's a new thing. It's just new to us, obviously. Obviously, the Roswell crash heightened everything, and everything sort of took off from there. You can go back, and we've had whistleblowers over the years that have come out and actually leaked about craft, and the way the governments around the world have tackled it and tried to keep it from the people. And again, it's coming to a head now. It's coming to a thing where we're all going to find out pretty soon what's going to be going on full time. Whether the governments are going to come forward with this, I'm very sitting on the wall with that slightly, because I just believe, with being ex-military myself, that I know they don't want to give up the reins of what they know. And I don't care what anybody says. Over it's taken them an awful long time to keep the information and to weaponize the information, because that's what they do. It's quite sad, really, and the only good thing I really think about is people are waking up around the world, and people are all starting to group en masse. They're waking up to what's actually happening around them. And why is this information being kept from everybody?
Agreed, and I feel the exact same way. Yeah, and I talked to Kevin Day the other day, who's involved with the Nimitz UFO incident, and I told him, because my stance is government probably, any of these governments around the world probably won't bring disclosure because of the whole having to give up power, and it's just not their thing. I don't think that's in the cards for them to do that, although I hope that they would, because obviously they are human beings as well with families, and there should be some sort of compassion there. But yeah, for the most part, it's going to have to be a humanity-led disclosure. Do you think that Phoenix Lights has been almost 30 years ago? Do you think we are due for another mass sort of sighting like that? Do you think that might be the thing that brings disclosure in? Or do you think the ETs, it's up to them and they'll bring it when we've enlightened ourselves enough, or once we've reached the level of enlightenment?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the latter. It's going to be when we all start to wake up to, again, like I said, what is really happening. there, I'm sure, again, people have said over the years, people have come forward and had interactions with ETs, many different races. It really does come back to the human beings on the planet. They've got to open up to it. They can't force you to step across that bridge, go to the next level. There's lots of different people saying you're going to raise in dimension consciousness, etc. And people still believe if they're going to actually, if somebody is actually going to present the news to them on the news, a newsreader with a piece of paper and wearing a suit, and they're going to say the ETs are here, then they'll believe it.
Right.
That's fine. Everybody comes to this point in ufology, especially, people are interested in it. People are actually starting to take notice, mainly because things are being said in the mainstream for a start, in the media. That's where most people see their information that's brought forward. And again, this is where it's being brought forward to them. But I really do think it's down to us to grip it and take this information and go forward with it. We already are, we're talking about it now, and we have been talking about it for an awful long time. And I've seen this over the years when I've gone to conferences and you've seen all the different speakers and what people have said. Things have not really changed, as in people having experiences with ETs, because they say the same thing. But I've noticed the caliber of people that turn up now at these conferences. Before, we were always known as the tinfoil hat brigade. We're thinking that way. It's not really bothered me, that sort of thing. I'm there because I want to be there. I want to be around people that understand what everybody else is going through. But now the caliber of people that are turning up, you talk doctors, solicitors, people like that, who are actually turning up and sitting down with everybody else because they believe, before with pilots, etc., you couldn't speak about sightings, especially as civilian pilots, because it's your job on the line. If you actually brought forward a report, you'd be really ridiculed. You'd end up in it probably on a desk job. You'd lose your flying status. So there's an awful lot of things behind that. But now people are coming forward and being allowed to report what they're seeing. It just opens up to what is really going on in a bigger picture. It's definitely going in the right direction. I believe it really is. I don't think we're going backwards as such. It's just, again, we go back to that, what we said before. I don't believe the military are going to be that forthcoming on just letting go of the reins.
Yeah, they definitely won't. And with so many compelling cases out there, and I know you being a researcher, I'm sure you're aware of all of them. What to you, I mean, here's one of the things that I think about is that, I agree that humanity is going to have to awaken. We definitely have to level up and change what we're doing before, even if, the government wasn't in such control. I still just think we're not ready to jump out there into space and to kind of join anything out there at this point. What do you think actually gets us to that enlightenment point? I mean, is it just more of what we're doing here, more shows, conversations? And the reason why I ask that, now this would be a second part to that, is that I think there's enough credible evidence out there with some of the most compelling sightings that we could probably sit here and name. So what do you think the path is for that?
Yeah, certainly, like your show and many more, and people talking about it, openly talking about it. This is really to do with us, as humans. We're looking to better ourselves, better the world, better everybody else. you know just doing nice things for people makes you feel better. You know, if you do something nice for somebody, you feel a whole lot better for it. And if you're starting to talk about things that you believe are going on around you and around in the world, you know, and you're talking with other people and they actually speaking before you keep it to yourself or you talk in your own little community, etc. But now, you know, you can talk to people on the street. I've noticed you go to shopkeepers and you can have a conversation, you know, about what is going on, and they'll say, well, what do you think about this? And you're interacting, you're talking about what is going on. That's so important to us and likes of your show. You know, people can get out. They've got stories. They've seen people have seen craft. Many people are going to see craft. People are going to be scared by what they're seeing because they don't understand. When we started in ufology, all of us, you know, I always say it's like I call it the Richard Dreyfuss syndrome, the character of Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever seen that movie, it's still one of my favorites because, you know, the character that Richard plays, where he has the interaction with the UFO on the level crossing, you know, he looks up in the sky, the light comes over, but thereon after, his life just goes into chaos. He doesn't understand what he's seen, and he wants to dig more into it, and he just seems to go overboard.
Yep.
And that's why I call it that, the Richard Dreyfuss syndrome, is because everyone wants to get out there and read more books, and they want to watch more shows, or they want to watch more documentaries, and it just answer those questions that we all want to know.
Yeah, there's going to be, you know, and it sounded like one of the things you touched on just a moment ago. What it sounded like was we were going to need to like raise our frequency, um, and put the good energy out there, right? Because, and I'm a believer of that as well. That's one of our superpowers, really, to be able to kind of affect the globe. Like your single self putting out that good energy, it's infectious and it kind of multiplies and then spreads out across the world. So I can see that. Um, you know, I just have looked at cases like the Aerial School or, you know, Westall 66 and you know, those two cases right there with so many different witnesses, and then who saw craft landing on the ground, saw beings getting out of the craft. You know, it's almost like I want to take those cases and kind of show them to everybody else in the world. But one thing that we always come back to is that everyone has their own personal disclosure moment, and you can't really kind of force the issue on that. And so I'm always looking around trying to figure out what is the best route to getting out there and getting you know, helping people wake up. And obviously doing the show, like you said, is one of the things. But one of the things that I did think about doing, just like you said as well, going out and talking to people. So maybe like going out and doing a segment on the street where maybe I'm, you know, microphone and I ask random people, you know, their thoughts on what's going on right now, just to at least put the thought in the mind if it wasn't already there.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's one really good thing to do. Like I said, you know, when I'm speaking to people, you know, they don't like shopkeepers. When I've had conversations with them, or you know, but the important thing is you go on to make another friend, you know, and again that becomes word of mouth. You know, they'll go and talk to somebody else, and they'll say, hey, you know, I met this guy today, and I read, you know, he's got this book out, and I get that with people. They start reading what I've done, and I've only gone through the line of books through good friend of mine, Philip Mantle, over here in the UK. He's my publisher now, but at the time I was analysing images for everybody, And it was only Philip that came forward and said, well, why don't you put them in a book? Why don't you write a book? And I'd never wrote a book before, never had any intention of writing a book. And I had so much information and so many images. I thought, yeah, okay, I'll go in and start to explain to people how you can go into ufology and analyze stuff, because it's not rocket science really, using the methods that everyone's got access to today, you know with Photoshop. It's not what you think. You're not actually manipulating the photographs or changing anything. You're just using the filters and things like that, because then you can see things that you would never normally see. Obviously, I don't try and hide what I do. It's not me. If I can give some information to somebody and how they can do it, then that's great. And again, when people often send me photographs, they'll send a photograph of maybe a family photograph with family members or something, and then behind them there's a scenery. That's why they took the photograph, obviously. And they say, well, when I took the photograph, there was nothing there, but when I look back at the images, there's a UFO in the background, or something zips across, and I always put that down to the frequency side of it, where obviously human beings, if you go back to the electromagnetic spectrum, human beings can only see in a very, very short corridor. So we can see visual light and things like that. Outside of that corridor, you're going to be talking of X-rays and ultra, everything that you wouldn't normally, infrared, all these things that the human eye can't see. But when you take a photograph with your camera, the camera can see all this. So later on, when you can see, it's just a different frequency. That's all. Another way I explain to people is, think of yourself as a radio, and you can tune yourself into different radio stations like we're doing now. But again, at the same time, around the world, there are many thousands of more radio shows being broadcast at the same time. We're tuned into your show at the minute, but all these other shows are still there, still being broadcast, and you're like the radio. You can tune in. And the same with human beings. You can tune in to seeing objects of different frequency, and again, I talk with Peter quite often. Is in Australia, we talk about this, and it goes down. I call it multidimensional bleeding, so people can see the orbs coming through, and they're just basically in a different orb in the same place as you in a multi. It's so big, you can just keep thinking of things, and it goes bigger and bigger. But there are so many multi-dimensions happening around you at the same time in the same place. You've got to get your head round all those sort of things, and it's the same thing with the craft. You'll see them, some certain craft are not, they look like they're morphing into different shapes, and I believe those craft are just basically on different frequencies coming in, and you're not quite getting the full state of what you're seeing, whether it be a solid image. And again, that goes back to people saying, well, I was in the same boat. Unless it was nuts and bolts, you don't actually believe what you're seeing. But again, if we think outside the box and think of the multidimensional beings, the craft, what's going on around you, then you start to understand what you're seeing.
Yeah, and that makes sense because just the other day we were talking about my sighting and how it was in the middle of the day, clear blue skies, noon, 12 noon, high noon, and the sighting I had was 47 different objects at the same time in a formation flying right over the city, and it was just shocking to me that nobody else reported seeing that, like in the neighborhood or anywhere else in the city, which is weird. I videotaped it though, and I actually, since you do photo and video analyzation, I definitely want to send it to you for you to look at it. But I think that kind of could explain it, that maybe the frequency that I was tapped into at the time allowed me to see it, and just other people weren't tapped into that frequency, which is why they would be able to not see. And it would explain why, that ends up being the case, like just around the world with other sightings as well. I think that kind of explains that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's something else that we, in ufology especially, that it's evolved. It's literally gone on, and people have started to understand that type of thing. And that's where I think it goes back to musicians and people that are open to music. Again, that becomes into the frequency side of everything. So again, they're more attuned. Yeah, they're more attuned to what is actually going on. So obviously, famous people have come forward, singers and people like that, and said, "Well, I had a sighting, I saw something." I believe they're attuned to the actual frequency of what they're seeing. And again, it goes back to the images that I've done for people. They say it wasn't there when I took the photograph, but it was there later on. You just weren't actually attuned to it. It goes on to other cases like the Billy Meyer case. Where people have said where they've seen craft and they've stood in a certain position. But if they've moved slightly to say, well, if somebody next to them has said, well, I can see something and that person can't, they would actually move across to the same site of view that that person has got, and they would see. Again, I'm sure a lot of craft and things would only project to people what they want them to see.
Yeah. And I know as far as cases go, and let me ask you this first, because we have about 2 minutes left before we go to break, or commercial break. Have you, with all the things that have been submitted to you, all the different photos to analyze, do you have like a catalog of some of the most common shapes that people submit to you? Like, what do you find is the most common shape that you get with the photos that you end up analyzing?
Well, like I said to you earlier, lately, this era or whatever you want to call it, orbs are mainly what people are seeing. They're seeing the light in the sky. They'll see the craft, and again, you'll see it when it actually goes bright. It'll expand in visual to them, and then detract again. It's where we call it powering up, where it's an interaction with that craft with you. It's their way of, the light, and then it'll dim off, and then they fly away or disappear, etc. Lately, it's the orb shaped of craft that you see. You still see other craft. Like I said, it's never really changed. You just see more of what is being reported.
Do you think orbs are solid objects, or do you think they're like balls of plasma, like some people say?
Yeah, the different things. Again, if you see Pete's stuff or James at the ECETI Ranch, any of their footage, you get a real grasp of what people are seeing, and again, what they're actually putting out there. Whether it's an aura around the shape, it's got structure within the shape. Whether the shape is an actual structured shape. Again, is it a multidimensional craft? Is it coming in from another dimension to our dimension? So you're only seeing, an aura, a light, etc. There's many different things, but then you'll see obviously the harder craft. We'll talk about it more later, but the
Yes.
same thing.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we're actually getting ready to go to break. So awesome stuff, because I know there's a lot more to get into. You had the 3D models, the Calvin Parker, your interactions with Calvin Parker, the late Calvin Parker. Would love to get into that. So everybody, kick back as we get ready to go into our break and come back with Jason Gleaves with more stuff right here on After Hours. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
Okay, so Jason, this is actual video commercial break, so you can step away if you need to, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, see you in a second.
Okay, so.
All right, everybody, welcome back. As we have about 45 seconds before we come back from our radio break. So, how's the weather out there?
It's very dark at the minute outside, and we've had nice weather the last few days, but I think there's a couple of storms on their way. A typical UK weather.
Yeah. They say it's kind of like our Pacific Northwest. But here we go, 5 seconds. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. After hour number 2, as we come back with our guest, ufologist, researcher, joining us from the UK, Jason Gleaves. We'll go ahead and get ready to jump into this. But space travelers, you're already space travelers. Consider taking the next step and join the club. That's right, you can join our Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 a month by joining our Patreon. Consider doing that. And make sure you jump into our archives. Check out anything you've missed. YouTube.com/Spaced Out Radio. All right. Yeah, jumping back into it at the end of the hour, I brought up, which a lot of people may or may not know, you had dealings with one of the most infamous UFO sightings out there, Pascagoula sighting with Calvin Parker, the late Calvin Parker. How did you come to meet him, and what type of work were you guys doing together?
Well, Calvin Parker's case has always been there. It's such an old case that everybody reads about it. You know, Calvin and Charles Hickson in Mississippi, Pascagoula. Again, it's one of these really particular cases because of the type of ET that was experienced by them both, and on the dockside. I'm sure most people watching have read up on the case, you know, and like I said, I've been so humbled. I've got to work with many people in ufology who I've been brought up, you know, reading their books, etc. And Calvin was one of them. His case was one that stuck out, and I went down the road of obviously starting the image, the figures. I started to 3D make and things like that, and Philip Mantle, who I mentioned before, really got into the case. As people will know, he's done many books about the Pascagoula case itself. Dr. Irena Scott, again, brilliant researcher who's gone in and they brought it to life. You've really got to give them sort of credit where credit's due, because they're bringing that case to people. And we really went down the road of a brilliant writer in the States, Martin Powell. He does normally Batman, Superman comics, things like that. And we all got together and thought we'd do this graphic novel, which again, I've got one there. You can buy it over there. The
Bring it
see it without the light on. And really, with it, I've worked with him. It took me over a year and a half. You can see where I've gone in, and it's basically a graphic novel about the entire case, right the way through. And it's a different format to, again, what I've done before. And we wanted to bring the case to life to a different audience, because again, there's many films out there, books, etc., but nobody's ever done the graphic novel type. And I was Skyping with Calvin. We were going over the case. If something had come up very particular in the case, a certain place in Mississippi, or a car, anything, I wanted to be spot on. I wanted to be so real to what he went through, and what right the way through what actually happened to them both. what no one had ever seen. Everyone had seen the ugly one. Well, I've got a model of
Yeah. Let
the
me break
ugly
down.
one. That's the ugly one that everybody knows with the pointed ears and
Whatever
that
that is.
side. Yeah. Again, speaking to Calvin, he believes they were robots. They were basically like the minion type of,
Okay.
to actually bring them on board the craft. And he had an interaction with a female ET while he was on board. But nobody's ever seen anything about this female ET. So I wanted to get that out there within the story, because it's an important part of what happened to them. So I would email and Skype with Calvin many times, and we'd go over and say, well, I did like a police e-fit, that type of, when you do a building, an image of a face and etc. And I'd
Mhm.
say, is this what she looked like? Is that what she looked? And he'd say, no, that was different. This was different. In the end, we actually got to what she looked like. So I can show you quickly what she actually looks like. But you can see we wanted to get it in there. I'll be with you. We wanted to actually get authentic image of what he saw on board the craft with this female ET he had the interaction with. So that's what she looked like.
Oh wow. Okay.
And she had the long extended fingers, pretty much like most people say. And then she looked human, but she wasn't quite human. And so that was what we actually got. And he was really happy in the end, which made me happy. That was the being. I had the interaction with him, stuck fingers down his throat, all in the gory side of the case. And that's really how that book came about. We wanted to get it out to a different audience, a different, people, again, just another way of people to wake up to what has really gone on, because that really is such an important case.
It is, and the artwork is awesome, and that's a great idea. Yeah, to give it a visual aspect. Yeah, for exactly, because most of us in ufology have heard the case 1,000 times, know the story, but to present it to those on the outside, that is a great kind of medium and way to do that. So that's awesome. Let me ask you this: in speaking to him, obviously, you felt that everything that he said was genuine, because there's skeptics out there. I know he fought it, or he went in hiding for a while because he just didn't want to face all those skeptics saying all this ridiculous stuff. There was a lady that came out, I guess a few years ago, right prior to him passing, and she said that she was on the opposite side of the river and witnessed him being abducted. Was that a real thing? How did that pan out with her? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, it was Maria, her name, and she was on the other side of the river, to where Calvin and Charlie were fishing, and she was there with her husband. He was a fisherman, and they were waiting to go on board, or he was to go to work on it. So they were in the car on the opposite side, and it's since come out they were abducted as well. At the same time. And again, if you go into the books that Philip Mantle and Irina Scott have both wrote, and she is actually living in the States. She's actually done the footwork and gone out and interviewed, and all the witnesses that have come forward since. The case has grown so much. It's not just about Calvin and Charlie's case. It's everybody else involved. There's quite a few, and more people are coming forward, of what happened that night, and people being abducted, seeing the same object. Everything really does match out the same, and it's become such an important case, really. Yeah,
Yes. Yes, no. So it ended up being because for many years it was just Calvin Parker and was it Charlie Hickson?
Charles Hickson, yeah,
Charles Hickson, yeah.
yeah,
So it was essentially just their case until just literally a few years ago, where it now expanded. Now I knew about her, but I didn't know about the others that had come forward. I know that she said that they thought they saw the same robot figure that was
yeah,
swimming in the water. Essentially, was that what it
yeah,
was?
yeah. And she has since had regression and everything else. So it, I can't recall. There's an actual documentary that was brought out, whether it's on Netflix or something like that. Um, I can't remember what it was called, but it is really good. They go into all. They've got not long, maybe a year or so before Calvin passed. They were all in a room together and they were all talking about what they saw that night. They've all been brought together and going over what actually happened step by step, and all matching up their stories and things like. You've really got to read the books that Philip's done and Irina Scott has done together, and I think there's a new book that's coming out with the about the tape recording, because he was secretly tape recorded by the police, by the sheriff's office, in his interview when they were first taken in by the police after the sighting. They put a secret tape recorder in the drawer, and they left the room and thought that they would stop to say things that they didn't see what they saw, and they were just making the
Right.
story up. But when they went back over, it's basically it's Calvin and Charlie saying, Calvin all along never wanted to come forward and say what they'd seen, basically through embarrassment and things like that. And it was Charles that actually came forward and pushed it and went forward. And that was really where Calvin went through a real bad time and went underground as such. He didn't want to be known. Um, and of what had actually happened to him. It was only later he sort of got to grips with what had happened to him. Again, it was his journey. He went through hell really with it.
Wow. What would you say? And yeah, that's one of those ones. There's a handful of cases that, and Pascagoula is definitely in that group for me. What is like, man, if you had to pick, I mean, there's so many good ones, but if you had to pick like your number one case, the one that just says it all, you think the one that could probably bust the gates open if everyone were to pay attention to it, what case would that be, would you say?
I haven't really got one because there are so many.
Yes.
If you need me to put a case or something forward, I would actually say if you look on my YouTube channel, that's really where I had to set that up because of the footage that I was getting off people, and it was too long to play on Facebook and on the Ufonly channel. And it was an Argentinian pilot who came forward to me in 2014. I wrote about it in the books I've got, but the footage he actually took, if you go on the YouTube channel, you can see there, and many TV shows have used it. I think it was on Paranormal, caught on camera, and the Osbournes, and things like that. It's been on a lot of shows. And basically, he'd seen UFOs. It was a civilian pilot, and he was flying his civilian aircraft.
Okay, so what we can do is I have it up and we'll bring it up on stage,
Okay.
and we can do that right after the break. So after the next break, so we got about 10 minutes left
Okay.
till break. So
All right.
we'll jump back to that. So real quick,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say another case where I found was very intriguing and sort of links up really to the Tic Tac UFO that people are seeing, later years now, was a case by David Caton, who's a UFO researcher in the UK, and he's ex-Air Force as well, the same. And it was a case that happened at RAF Cyprus in 1958, and it was basically a Tic Tac UFO that was actually seen, and they scrambled jets that took off, and they locked onto this object on radar, and I think it went from 38,000 feet to 60,000 feet in a second on
Wow.
the radar blip. So at the time they scrambled Hawker aircraft. That was the elite aircraft we had at the time. They took off from it was Cyprus itself, and they tracked this thing coming over the Turkish Egyptian coast. They took off, obviously, tried to intercept this object, and it took off again. See, they actually had it down at traveling 18,000 miles an hour at the time, and this was 1958.
Wow.
So, really, that really corresponds to the later Tic Tac. Again, I'm in two minds whether the later Tic Tac that was revealed, whether that was a military aircraft, or not necessarily a military, probably a secret covert craft, whether it was extraterrestrial. Again, everybody comes out with their opinion. But it does coincide that, people have actually reported objects of similar what we're seeing later many years ago. So, you can read about that case in one of my books. It's in UFO Encounters Up Close and Personal. You can read that in.
Definitely. And so let me ask you this. Is that particular case you're speaking of, was that what came out also in that release from the MOD?
No, it's not even been spoken about. This was actually, he was actually in there. It was the Trudos radar unit on Cyprus, which is a big radar unit they've got there. And then obviously they track all that area, so over the Egyptian coast, right up Turkish coast, and that's where they scrambled the jets, and they tried to catch up with it then. I can't remember how fast the aircraft could go then, compared to today's aircraft, but that they actually tracked that object going from 38,000 feet to 60,000 feet in a second. So, and it was traveling at 18,000 miles an hour.
That is insane.
So, there are cases there if you can read up on them.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously back then, and that's the thing. I mean, when you have cases from a time where technology for surely was not at that level, so the distance between what we had and what we're seeing is just wide, the gap, where and that's why a lot of those things from back then kind of really bring it home and say it can't be anything but this. Since the UK government, I guess if that's what you call them, there, the MOD released all those UFO files. Does it seem like the government there is more receptive to looking into UFOs since then? And is it something that they embrace as far as conversation goes?
Not really as such. I think they've probably released the papers to wipe their hands of it, really. Whether you go back to Nick Pope at the time, he worked at the MOD and was at the desk, and a lot of people say he did this and he didn't do that. You believe what you really want to believe. People send reports, as they do, to the American military, and they say they don't, but they're still going to look at cases if it's going to affect the the military side of things. That's always going to be an important thing. They're never going to not look at those. They say they might not to the public and to the public face, but in the background, they're still, it's still an important subject.
What are your thoughts on the Calvine UFO photo? Because I know James Fox was recently, he has a documentary coming out. I think it's called The Program. And I'm pretty sure he alluded to the fact that he has new information, or I think even more clear photos on the Calvine UFO, some things that are supposed to be shocking. Have you heard of that? And are you aware of where that might be going? And how do you feel about the Calvine UFO case?
It's an old case again. There's not an awful lot in the background of what we know. People have spoken about it for many years. It's supposed to be the famous photograph that was on the back of the door in the MOD, that people would look at and say, well, this is what we've seen. This is what people have reported. I met James last year when he came over to the UK to speak. Brilliant guy, brilliant documentaries as always. Yeah. Again, he's bringing out stuff that's so important in the field. I'm intrigued. I don't know what he's got coming out this time because I've not spoke to him or anything, but I'm sure it's going to be, good for everybody else and good for the community.
Exactly.
He really does get things by the throat and puts it out to the people of what is there. But it's an intriguing case.
Yeah, he definitely has alluded recently, and I believe it was on X. I read it somewhere where he was conversing with someone and kind of hinted that he had some really good stuff on the Calvine UFO that's going to move the needle forward. And like I said, James Fox, I went all the way back to Out of the Blue and just all the work that he's done. The guy's definitely, on the side of disclosure. And you can tell that he puts his heart into his work. And that's why I can't wait to see what he does here. I have a quick question, though. We have 2 minutes before we go to break. What is your outlook on USOs? Do you research those? And what is your theory on what they're doing down in the water?
Yeah, well, they're down in the water, my theory, because that's all it comes down to, theory and opinion with everybody. Mm-hmm. But they've got their bases down there. The oceans have not been explored throughout the world. We don't know enough. We know more about space and things and the moon than we do of our oceans. And I would put money on it that there are bases down there. If they can go into outer space in their craft and, they could certainly survive in our oceans. And again, the cases that people are bringing forward and people are researching of the USOs, and I have actually, gone in and looked at things. The same people have given footage to me of lights under the ocean. People can't work out, and and the speeds that they can go underwater. Then there are cases where submarine personnel have had interactions with USOs. It just goes on and on, really. They're so important just as much as what we see in the sky. So, yeah.
I mean, I want to know what they're doing down there. Because it just depends. If they've been here the whole time, then then maybe just where they live. They live under there. That's the base is their home. But as far as like if they are visitors, then what would be the reason to go there? Is it just to kind of hide out? Because I'm under the impression that we hope everything is good, but there's probably a little bad to it. And I'd like to kind of get your opinion on that once we come back from break. I think we got we're actually about to go to break right now. So everybody kick back as we get ready to go to break right here on Spaced Out Radio After Hours. We will be back with our guest, Jason Gleaves, ufologist, researcher, as we go ahead and we're going to actually look at some of the videos and photos that he has curated and examined, as well as get into some more UFO talk. If you have questions, put them in caps, and we will look at those on the next hour. We'll be right back. All right. Okay, we got about 5.5 minutes till we come back. So if you need to use the bathroom or anything, be
Okay.
my guest.
All right. Speak to you in a second.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. As we are hanging out here for a little bit here, about 5 minutes, and we'll bring our guest back in a moment here. I actually am about to take curate questions from you guys, so I'm now paying attention to the chat. I apologize if you put something in there already. I did not see it, and if you wouldn't mind reposting your question, please put them in caps so I can go ahead and present them to our guest. Just looking here. If there's any particular thing you guys want to know, please put it in caps so we can ask our guest tonight. Who's remote viewing me, Brown Dwarf? Don't remote view Rob G on break. Yeah. Let me have my privacy, guys. Yeah, all caps, no cap, please. And let's see who else has come in actually since we started the show. Daniela, I don't think I saw your name there, but Daniela, thanks for coming on in. I'll say we got Blue Cruise. Blue Cruise, thanks for coming on in, saying cheers. Brown Dwarf. Babylon Rose. Babylon Rose, thanks for coming on in. Let's move through here. Anybody else new? Resonant, I don't know if I said hello. I'm gonna say hello again if I did. I don't want to I don't want to miss you tonight. So thanks for coming on in here. Let's go back here in the Chizat. WD-40, yes, we talked. Let's see. Aaron, we didn't say hi to Aaron. Hey, Aaron, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you showing up, joining us for the show. So we got about 2.5 minutes here before we come back from break. Let's move back more. Nina Williams, thank you for coming on in. Appreciate you showing up. Let's see. Moving back here. Lars Jansen. Good morning, Lars Jansen. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you. Jay, hey Jay, thanks for coming on in. Okay, I think that's it. Yep. Shaq Valet. Hey, Shaq Valet. Thanks for coming on in. Are there any cheeseburgers and beer in heaven? Wow. That's kind of awesome question, man, actually. Ooh. I hope so. The Doug Shelby. Thanks for coming on in. The Doug Shelby. Appreciate you. LVL. Dr. Love. Yeah. Awesome stuff here. So looks like we bring our guests back up front here. Yes, our guest joining us all the way from the UK. It's always awesome when you just think about that connection. Like this is what we need. I always love speaking to people in other countries and getting perspective. That just lets me know we align even across the world. Philip Blair, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. You make a good point too, huh, Philip Blair? If you're already in heaven now, then yes, there are cheeseburgers and beer in heaven. Okay. That makes total sense. Let's see. All right. As we get ready to come back here, you guys kick back. All right, 20 seconds. I didn't see any questions, guys. 20 seconds. So start getting them in there if you want to ask them. We got about 25 minutes left with our guest tonight. Fast Emmy, hey. Appreciate you. All right, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio After Hour number 2.5. So we're back with our guest here, ufologist researcher Jason Gleaves, joining us from the opposite side of the earth in the UK. Don't forget, you guys can follow us on Instagram and X at Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Radio Show. And yeah, you can go back and check things that you missed by jumping in the archive, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, as we go ahead and get ready to jump back in the conversation. We're actually going to be looking at some the videos that Jason has on his YouTube page, Ufonly, and it's actually, I checked out some of them earlier and they're mind blowing. But before we do that, we were just talking about for a moment the USO situation, and the fact, just theorizing here, spitballing, that potentially there's bases down there. We see them coming in and out of the water. That's a fact. Now, I was kind of leading into, okay, if they've been here longer than us, it would make sense. Yeah, they probably live there. But if it turns out that these are all visitors visiting us and they have a base down there, I've been under the thought process of, because it seems like when you go back to like the Battle of LA, the UFOs over DC, and just other cases where we find these USOs along our coastlines. And in some cases, I know our guy Tom Conwell has put together a really good map where he color coded. He did it for the United States, and it showed a lot of activity, on the coastlines, east and west coast. So it had me thinking, just like we have our subs out there, each country has their nuclear subs out there in strategic positions off the coast of adversarial countries, there for reasons of potential invasion or defense. Jason, do you see, if we were looking at it like that, if these are visitors and they are setting up base in our oceans offshore, do you see any threat there? I mean, could there be any threat?
There's always a threat, but the threat always comes from the military point of view rather than, people will always think, yeah, are they? There's always good and bad in everything, obviously. But if there is a real threat, you wouldn't like to think, you would think that they would have already harmed us by now. If they're so way advanced in technology and consciousness and everything else in relation to what we think or don't think of, why are we still here then? Why is it not like a Hollywood movie where they would come in and destroy everything and take over? There are so many options of what people can think of. Are they here just waiting for us to kill ourselves? That we seem to be doing a really good job about, doing that anyway. to our planet, not looking after our planet, etc.? Are they just biding time? Like I said to you, I really do believe they've been here a lot longer than we have. So, are they just waiting until the next lot come along after us? Or I don't know. I don't know. And I don't think anybody else really does know unless you can actually speak to these beings themselves.
Yeah, yeah, and there's some that claim that they do. And I'm under the, just like you said, there's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad. My whole thought process on, before we figure this out, or as we take the path to figure this out, that I just feel like, you should hope for the best, but also prepare for the worst, just in case, because we really don't know. Yeah, they haven't done anything this whole time. Maybe it's not in the plans for them to do anything just yet. But then if they have been here, there's a flip side to that. I think in some cases, if we look at it like, okay, they've been here and maybe they're protecting us from, other things that are out there. Maybe there's a set of these ETs that know that there's malevolent forces out there, and they're kind of set up just like the US is in a lot of different countries, protecting the assets. And maybe they're doing the same thing. Maybe they're, set up off our coastlines to protect us from threats that they know are out there. You know what I mean? And that's why it's always cool to converse, because we can kind of just throw these ideas around and see what sticks. Maybe we're right, maybe we're not. We'll see.
But the most important thing is we're talking about it.
Exactly.
We're actually discussing not options, but we're discussing what we theorize is going on. Really, it goes back to why are they here? They're here to look after us. I'd like to think they're here to protect us. They're allies to us. Because out there, I don't think human beings are ready to go out into space. Just look at us on the Earth. We fight amongst each other. There are wars going on for no real good apparent reason. Is it all to do with money and power? Yes, it is. You're foolish if you think it's not that way. So if we actually went out into free space as such, we're just going to continue what we're doing down here, out there. But
Yes.
out there, they're not going to tolerate it.
No.
So, yeah, we've got an awful long way to go in that respect.
And you bring up a great point, because I've thought about the same thing. I think when we think about different reasons, okay, maybe protecting, maybe they're, and one of the things that I did think about is maybe they are maybe they're here in our skies to stop us from doing exactly that. They know we're at a technological point where we can now leave the planet, and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. You guys aren't coming off the planet yet. You guys are staying right here until you guys get it together. Because if you look back, like at some of the missile tests that we've done, how they've shot those or brought those down, I think that there could be an aspect of, hey, which is another reason why they may visit our nuclear facilities, because they're like, dude, you guys aren't sending this stuff out in space. We've already blown up a nuclear bomb in space as it is. I think it was like in 1954. And so they're like, no, 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 no. Like, you guys are not going to spread your poison out here to other planets. And maybe they're here to keep us landlocked or planet locked until we're ready to ascend. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And when people realize this, they'll see the bigger picture. They'll start to. I always believe that one door shuts in ufology, but another 5 open.
Yeah.
Literally, and it gets deeper and deeper, and then you'll start to think. You think of your journey, because we're all on a journey. You think of the first instance that you got into ufology, or where you were heightened and you were actually thought, well, are we alone? And then you're getting beyond the craft. You're getting to the inhabitants of the craft. You're thinking, who's piloting this thing? You know, what do they look like? I don't think Hollywood have done us a real justice of what is out there. The only thing that probably is more justice is probably the likes of Star Wars. I think it's more like that, where you go to different universes and the different beings. And, you know, I think George Lucas and Spielberg and people like that have done a good job, you know, bringing things forward. But then there are other movies that you can watch. Was it Independence Day, things like that? It's just about fighting the enemy, and they're nasty when they turn up, you know.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: before we get into these videos here, so on the opposite side of disclosure, like post disclosure, AD after disclosure, which is a great book, Richard Dolan and Bryce Zabel. If you haven't read it, anyone out there, make sure you do that, because that's my mindset. But after disclosure, do you think the government still exists in its current form on the other side of disclosure? Do you think we should allow for that to be the case? Or do you think we should demand a new structure, a new way of doing things on the opposite side of disclosure?
I think post disclosure, yeah, everything's going to completely change. You know, the everything in the world would change. You know, because people are going to. I'm sure people are going to look at it and think, well, you know, the government have lied to everybody for so long about what's happened, what they've done, the interactions they've had, the things they've hidden from people. And then it comes back to the world itself. You know, I always say disclosure has already happened. You've just got to look at the wealth of photos and cases and things like that. It's already happened, disclosure. So if you want to call it the official disclosure, you got to look at petrol, gas, etc., all that industry, and then religion. So everything is really starting to open up all those doors now, because again, it's going to come down to beliefs. And why did we have this? We've never needed petrol, gas. Why, you know, we could have had levitation cars, we could have had anti-gravity, you know, free energy devices, you know, the things there that patterns that have been quashed over the years, people have come forward, you know, even down people running cars on water, things like that. They've all been quashed over the years. So all these things are going to bleed through, and then it'll start to be, well, what do you really believe? You know, what's really going on? Who's been running this place? The earth itself, you know, has it been run by, you know, something else we don't know? You know, is it really the governments that are running things, or is it above the governments? It just goes on and on and on. So when you talk about post disclosure, after what is the official thing of disclosure itself, then yeah, I dread to think. But you know, things are going to happen the way they're going to happen. And I think the most important thing about it all is we've all got to be there for each other, because there's going to be an awful lot of frightened people. There's going to be an awful lot of people confused, scared of what's actually, their realm has changed. It's going to change. You know, we're a bit more heightened to it because we've already gone down the rabbit hole as such. You know, so you've just got to be there for people.
You are totally right. And that's why I asked the question, just see where your mindset is at as far as that goes. I'm in the same belief. I think there definitely is going to be a rough patch that we're going to have to go through in order to kind of restructure and rebuild. And it's going to be a lot of assistance. Is going to need, you know, human to human mental situations. And it's going to be a lot of that going on, but we can get through it. And I think we'll be better for it. So with that being said, I definitely want to make sure we show some of these awesome videos that you have on your Ufonly YouTube page. So make sure you guys go ahead and go check him out over there as well. Let me go ahead and bring those up here. And is there any particular video that you would like me to show here?
No, they're all important to a point. Obviously, it's just really things I had to analyze in more depth, and it had to be a video. Really, that was the reason for that. But the Argentinian pilot's footage is good footage.
Okay, where is
you've
that?
got, if you scroll down, it should be there. I'm just trying. There's a lot of Pete stuff on there. Peter Slattery as well. A couple of documentary I've made on there. They're free to watch to everybody. I think if you go lower, I'm trying to look on the screen.
That near miss one was wild. I saw that one.
That might be the one. Though there's plenty of near miss. Again, there's one where there's a grey in there. There it is. That one there with the propeller. You can see it there, like a propeller.
Oh, this one here. Okay,
That's it, yeah.
This up here.
That's the actual footage that was sent. If you, I basically just go over. It's in that format because it was taken on his mobile phone. So it's in that sort of long format. I couldn't really change it too much, and I actually analysed it in that UFO photo, and you'll see two craft that'll buzzed right in front of his aircraft. He was flying about 10,000 feet. He's done that route many times, this Argentinian pilot, and again you saw them both go in front. They buzz right in front of his aircraft. But you watch now, they'll actually come back in formation. You'll see them both come back. There they are.
No.
So again, he knew that he'd had interactions before, and he never had a camera or anything with him, and he took his mobile phone camera, and that's why you can see it in that format. So again, you'll see where I actually slow it down, and you'll see one long elongated craft.
Wow.
And it buzzed right in front of his aircraft. It's so dangerous to do that. So, and you'll see a smaller one now that will follow right behind. And then what happens is they both go to the right-hand side. He's obviously still trying to fly his aircraft and look at these objects. And they go into a tight formation on his right-hand side in a figure of 8. And then they come back. You'll see now I've slowed it down again. And you'll see them together as they come past.
Wow. Just to explain to the radio audience, there's a front view out of the front windshield of the airplane here. And there are two objects that kind of zip right across the screen and right in front of the plane's nose. In slow motion, you can clearly see that these are some sort of either disc shape or cylindrical shape sort of items. They kind of remind me of, have you heard of Richard Scheidt and I guess he calls them dragonflies?
Yes, yeah.
Is that what you think these are, or what type of shapes do you think these are? Discs?
Again, whether they're discs or elongated, first one anyway, especially is a really long craft. But again, you're looking at the different elevation of the pilot, what he can see. So things look different side on view. Whether it's a disc shape, I don't know. But you can see where I've actually taken frames and analysed the craft. And, they're definitely structured craft. They're definitely intelligently flown craft for what they've done. They buzzed right in front of his aircraft, not once, twice, which is so dangerous to do, like I said.
Yeah. And you said he's a private pilot or commercial pilot?
Okay. Yeah, he didn't want his name brought out or anything, and he was happy to show the footage. But, you're talking 2014 that happened.
Yeah, there's one. I'll bring up the one that I saw here earlier, which I was like, "Whoa!" It was the one. I think it's up here.
I didn't realize there's so many different, footage.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I checked these out earlier, and I'm like, "Oh wow, okay." So I wonder which ones we can show. There was the
There's
one.
a couple of pilot ones, obviously. They're
Yeah,
always
it's the one where they're looking out the window. I think it's
yeah.
it's shadowing, not that one. It's the one where they're like, "Whoa," as the thing passes the window.
Yeah. It might be a more recent, so it'd be at the beginning, maybe, of the.
Yeah, let me see. I think I saw it earlier. I want to definitely show that one.
They're no in particular order, but yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you can see on this one, you'll see the pilot actually adjust his flight.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one I'm talking about. So
yeah,
that one.
You'll actually see him. You'll see him where he dips the wing as he's avoiding it.
Let me get the volume because you got to hear him.
Yeah. And again, this is multiple pilots around the world have seen these objects. They see them all the time.
You will need to be seated. To brace, place your feet flat on the floor, cross your wrists, and hold on to the seat back in front of you. Rest your hands on your wrists. Place your feet flat on the floor. Bend over, place your face in your lap. Put your arms under your legs and grasp your elbow. Brace.
You'll see it actually go under the wing as it comes through, as they've avoided the object.
Oh, shit. Wow. Cut the music.
Yeah. So you can actually see where I've gone into different views, use different filters, because again, you can see more detail. And you can see it's a structured craft. It's not any conventional type of aircraft. It's moving, so it's moving at quite a rate, again, against the aircraft, and you can see the evasive action as well by the pilot.
Yes, this was definitely the one. I watched this. I watched it a couple times. Blew me away. So you guys can actually go and check out more. As you see, there's definitely a good list of videos right over on his his YouTube page, which is Ufonly UFO NLY. Right?
Yeah, Ufonly. Yeah.
Okay, and as we get ready to say goodbye already, which is crazy, if you wouldn't mind letting everybody know where they could find you.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Obviously, that's the main page with Ufonly, and you can follow me or go on there if you want to, or just go and look at the stuff on there or see what people are talking about. Again, there's the Ufonly Facebook, YouTube channel. Again, there you can see multiple different videos that I've actually gone over and analyzed. And any of my books you can get on Amazon or through Flying Disc Press, through Philip Mantle. So yeah, anyone needs to message me. I get inundated with messages, as you can gather, with people wanting to know what they've seen. And I try to look at every case the same. I never give opinions, as in, if I believe it's not real, not real, but not what they think it is, because I try to, if I get a sighting through from somebody, and they say, well, I saw this, I say, well, where's your location first? Send me the best footage you've got, and I analyze it from there. But then I'll go the location. Where's your local airport? If you got a military base close by, you just eliminate everything else around the case before you start actually getting to the real in-depth part of that case. If it's a sighting in the sky, you can go on plenty of apps out there for aircraft. You all right?
Yeah, we got 20 seconds left here, Jason.
Okay.
So I definitely want to thank you for coming in, man. I'm going to be reaching out to you soon. I would love to do this again, get this go ahead and set up. And it's only 6 o'clock in the morning there, so it's still very early. You have a great rest of your morning, Jason, and you take care. Everybody else, we will be back with hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio with the Paranormal Report. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
That move the
You take care, Jason.
Conversations that move the
You're
needle.
listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 3, right here with me, Rob G. And it'll be about at least 30, 45 seconds before we come back from radio break. So give me just a second here as we get ready to get it in, guys. And you switch up our thing here. All right, welcome back, Spaced Out Radio after hour number 3. We are almost home, guys. We are almost home as we go ahead and thank our guest, Jason Gleaves, for coming in and waking up so early from the UK. Much love, Jason Gleaves. We will be talking again, sir. Don't forget to follow us, guys. X, Instagram, whichever one you use, at Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot, and so much more. So stepping in for Jax, who would be normally coming in with the paranormal report tonight, is our Sunday guy. As you know, last week we went ahead and announced our Sunday guy, who is none other than Mr. Drewski. So we're going to go ahead and bring him on in, guys. You guys don't go anywhere. Let me get them all set up. Let me set the stage for my guy here.
You're an irredeemable monster!
Come here, I'm gonna eat you! Get in my belly!
In my belly.
None other than Drew Banky, the man.
Yo, what's up, Rob? How are you? How's the chat room doing?
You know the chat is lit. Chat is always lit, Drew. And I appreciate you coming in. Actually, we don't have a show tomorrow, so glad you were able to come in tonight. And Jax is not feeling well, so we want to wish her well, and she will be back. We're hoping next Saturday. So everybody in the chat, go ahead, show your love for Jax, tell her you love her, and see her soon. Drew, my guy. So we talked earlier. You sent me some stuff that you wanted to cover. You can go ahead and set it up, and I'll bring it up on the screen here.
So I was trying to figure out like what I should talk about on my first night of doing this, and what better to do than to find a case that was really close to my house, you know, within about 20 miles of my house. So actually to Mount Blanca. So a lot of you know, from the show or whatever, how close I am to Mount Blanca, only a couple miles south of it. This case was just on the other side of it, in between Mount Blanca and the sand dunes. But so I started looking up and doing some research and trying to find one that I could share and people could like read about it afterwards, and we could talk about it and people could read about it. So I found this one. The first one actually came up on the CIA.gov website. And Rob, if you could share that link. But it talks about two kids that are teens, early teens, or late teens or early 20s. I don't know exactly their age. I don't think it says in there. But it talks about some lights that were seen and they were photographed. And this was released on April 2nd of 2001 by the CIA, approved for release. So I just read you the end of it where it talks about the sightings. At 1:20 a.m., Boggs said it was like someone turned on a light. There, out on the prairie, was a brilliant white diffused light about the size of a penny and about 50 times larger than the dots of the light made by cars and the lights of Alamosa in the distance. That took 2 photographs to prove ourselves the next day what we saw. The youth watched the lights and its antics till about 3:04 a.m. During this time, it traveled north. It appeared to go to the Great Sand Dunes National Monument. Then it headed toward their car and finally swung in an arc back to the site it was first seen. During this trip, the UFO traveled at various speeds. Its lights changed in intensity and color, and all the time the object remained below the horizon from the youth's vantage point. from where they were stationed on Mount Blanca. McFreed said he finally fell asleep and Boggs continued the vigil until the object blinked out at 3:04 a.m. Boggs said the experience was frightening, particularly the object headed toward the car, even though the UFO was several miles away. The youths plan to return to watch the object this weekend. So I'm not sure exactly when this was released, but yeah, here's all the links to it. And yeah, so that, a lot of from the video that I shared, I've shared previous times in different interviews with you, Rob, was the lights that I seen over Mount Blanca, and actually on the other side of Mount Blanca from where the sighting was. But this whole area out here, I plan on each Sunday or Saturday or whenever I step in to do this report, is bring a case from this valley because I don't know what it is about this valley. Some people know about it, some people don't, but there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I really would like, more attention on it, because I think there's value in understanding what's going on. There's tons of cases of cattle mutilations we're get into, that date back way back, horse mutilations, where we're in the wild horse mesa, so we're really in one of the most wild areas of the United States left. I think that has a lot to do with it. But yeah, that's a very interesting case I ran across, so I thought I'd share it, brother.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. And yeah, if anyone has ever seen the area where Drew is at, and I don't know, I think I do have just a picture in the files here, because I think once you see it, then you'll understand why it is likely that these things visit this area. Yeah, these are the Drew slides right here for the Homestead Rescue. Let me see.
People.
This is the best view that I have. And I had the other one where the mountains, which is actually behind the camera, looking the opposite way. So if you look at the area that he's in from the air,
freezing up.
If you go,
this is facing south.
Facing south. Which way are the mountains?
Mount Blanca is behind whoever's taking the picture.
Okay. So if you look at the area, this, if ETs were coming down from space, my impression is that they choose the parts of the earth that aren't lit up, right? Because they understand that those people aren't there. And this would be one of those dark areas there, like, and I think that's kind of what attracts them. That sighting was at 3 a.m. when obviously that side of the earth is dark. And I think they choose those areas to kind of come down and then maybe move out from there. So that might be what it is and why there's so much activity in places like that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a long history of spirituality in this valley. This whole valley used to be a lake, around 22,000 years ago. I might be off on the date, but around that time there was this was a lake, a large, I don't even know how big. If you basically, I would be kind of in the middle of it. If you look around, that's why, like on the shots on Homestead Rescue, some of the shots they shot like the 360 views on top of the shipping container barn and everything. You could see the mountains all the way around. That used to be the coastline of this huge saltwater lake. And that we're talking 22,000 years ago. There was a seismic event, probably a earthquake or coupled with a volcano or something like that. I don't know, but there was a large crack that opened basically in this valley, and the aquifer that's underneath this valley come from that lake. And so we have the second largest aquifer in the entire world under this valley, which is owned by the government, the U.S. government. So that's why, especially in this area, you have to the water rights and everything are controlled in a different way than they are in a lot of different areas of the world. And There's a lot of crystals in this area, a lot of turquoise mines, diamond mines, gold mines. In this valley, there's two major meteor impact craters. There's and that's not even talk about the spirituality. You got Crestone, which is a mecca for pretty much every major spiritual practice there is, particularly Buddhist and Hindu. They have a lot of retreat centers there. They have over 28 retreat centers in Crestone, so different from each other, and some of them are really, really nice. And so there's a lot going on in this valley, and it's dark, so it's a lot easier to see stuff moving and things like that. And
I would wonder if you had like some my guy Tom King, who filmed the Phoenix Lights, one of the people filmed the Phoenix Lights.
Oh my god.
He has cameras on his home, on his roof, that look up and move around automatically 24/7, and he catches some of the most amazing stuff. And when you live somewhere where there are open skies, I know Lee Strauss, our guy Lee and Jackson Lee, he does a lot of sky watching too. He played some on Friday. But I wonder, like in your area, with it being where you're at, if you had 24/7 cameras filming, what you might actually catch out there.
I do.
It might be amazing.
But I mean, they're not like cameras like that. I got like ring cam. I got ring cam. I got four ring cameras they're all outside, and they're strategically placed to like make sure no one can get to my tools in my shed. I got a couple $1,000s worth of tools down there and stuff like that, and just all around the house. The front gate. So right behind me in this picture right here, that's on one of those posts. That fence is down now, but one of those posts I turned into the security post, so it has the camera and everything. It's pointing right at the front gate and stuff like that, which has, it's not always on, but if it gets triggered by motion, it'll record, and it records, the picture. I think there's if anyone's on my Facebook and stuff, you can go scroll back, and a couple weeks ago, I posted a picture of when I first put it up of what it records, and Mount Blanc is right there. And actually the site where all this takes place is in camera view of my front camera, like of this story that we just talked about. And while I was giggling about, you said something about King, you mentioned King, and so a lot of people, there's a King Ranch that's right here on Mount Blanca in this area in the San Luis Valley, that's famous for numerous UFO sightings and things like that. So another interesting part of this article, and it's on the first one, it said a detailed report of the sighting, complete with chronological written log written during the sighting and photographic evidence. Chronicle is written during the sighting. Where's it talk? Anyways, now I know there was some photographic evidence, but a written log during the sighting has been forwarded to Dr. Edward U. Coden's office in Boulder, Colorado. Coden heads a Air Force sponsored investigation into UFOs. I've never heard of that name or anything like that, but this is an interesting article. There's a lot of interesting stuff in this other than just a sighting, like things like that.
How far are you from, you're in Colorado, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
How far are you from La Junta? If that's even how you say it.
What'd you call me?
I'm saying it wrong, I know, probably.
No, I've never even heard of it.
Let me look on a map here, because they had there's a sighting there that was one of the, to me, and we'll probably be able to take a look at that. Let me just look here, the distance here, or actually bring the map up.
I got a funny little story to Phil. So we got a bidet in our house, and it's like attached to a toilet.
Yeah.
So we recently got it, and the kids have been getting onto it and turning it on and everything. And the thing like sprays the wall. It's so like if no one's sitting on it and the lid's not down, or like spray the wall. Anyways, funny story. Today I was looking up like a lock system to put on or something, to put over the controls, so the kids couldn't get to it. And I was trying to Google it, and I put in like BADA or something like that, and BIDET kept coming up. And all this time, up until 44 years of my life plus up until today, I thought bidet was spelled something like BA or BO or something like that. I thought Bidit, I kept pronouncing it Bidit, and I thought that was a name of a company that sells bidets.
Oh my God.
I had no idea. So
Yeah, it's like French or something, right?
We're all growing, is what I'm trying to say. We're all growing.
Man, you don't know what you don't know. Don't worry about it. We're all learning. But looking at this, so this is a map of Colorado. Oops. Yeah, let me add it. Okay, you probably can't see that well. Let me bring this full screen. Just want to kind of get an idea of where you might be. So this is, let me back out a little.
What is La Junta?
So La Junta, this is Colorado, the square, and then Colorado Springs, Pueblo.
Oh, I gotta move.
This is La Junta right here.
This mic and get in here. I gotta get this full screen. Hold on.
It's like the southeastern corner of Colorado.
Okay, here we go. I don't see. Oh, La Junta. Okay, so go over. I see your cursor. Go over to the west.
To the west. Okay. Oop. All right. To the west.
Look, Great Sand Dunes right there. They talk about right the Great. They talk about. So they reference the Great Sand Dunes in this article. First page. It traveled north. It appeared to go to the Great Sand Dune National Monument, and then headed backwards to their car. So these two kids were on Mount Blanca. So they were actually on Mount Blanca taking when they took this footage or photographs and this detailed log.
For people who can see that those are sand dunes right in front of what looks like to be the Rockies, right behind it. Mm-hmm. Those two different landscapes right next to each other is bananas. That just doesn't compute. It doesn't even make sense.
Oh man, we could go all into this, but I gotta save all this stuff. I gotta trickle it out. But there's so much that I'm gonna be talking about in the future about the sand dunes. Hint, hint, you could probably find some stuff on Gaia about the sand dunes, but there is some interesting ideas. There's some interesting cases that we're going to get into about Mount Blanca, the sand dunes, and all that stuff. And once we're going to work out from my area over the next couple of weeks, and then once it starts slowing down, we're going to work out to other stuff. And like Blythe, California, the geoglyphs that are at Blythe, California. We're going to get into that. Oh yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Are you familiar with the Kentucky goblins?
Why'd you bring up La Junta?
Yeah, that's the story I'm going to get into. So it ties into the Kentucky goblins. So have you heard of that story, the Hopkinsville ET case from the 1950s?
Goblins.
Yeah, I'll bring up the slide real quick here, and then we'll jump into. This is my theory. We had Geraldine Stitt on the show. Dave did right before we went on break, and I came in and joined on hour 2 because I had been speaking to her too, and I wanted to present something to her because there's the classic case, the Hopkinsville goblins or ETs, whatever you want to call them. And I did some research and kind of tied it into something that happened in La Junta, like back in 2019, that I think was the exact same things. So here's what I'll do. I'll kind of just bring up the actual Hopkinsville stuff. We can take a look at this. You might ring a bell once you see the actual pictures here. So let me bring up the slide. I'm gonna bring up the slides first.
So
For everyone, yeah, go ahead.
Why we have this map up? Well, that map went away, but anyways, but we're in between the Springs, Colorado Springs,
Mhm.
and New Mexico. So where the Great Sand Dunes is, I'm right below that. I'm within that red marker right there where it says Great Sand Dunes.
Yeah, it says
Zoom in
Alamosa.
more. Zoom in more. You could probably find Blanca right there. Go, yeah, pull it over there, right there.
Yeah, Blanca Peak right here.
Blanca Peak, right there. So just south of Blanca Peak, about 2 or 3 miles, that's where my house is. Just before, I'm closer to New Mexico than I am to Denver.
Yeah, and this kind of looks like your
that's
backdrop right
that's
here.
my view. That's my front. That's my front view from my front of my house. Really.
Yeah. So that picture you guys saw behind the cameraman is this view here that you're seeing here, which is an epic view. This dude Drew gets to wake up and look at this every single day, which is just awesome, dude. I'm telling you, man, you're living a life out there. But like we covered in the interview, you're doing really great stuff, and you deserve it, man. You deserve for this to be your paradise and the place where you get to enjoy life, man. So
yeah,
kudos to you for that. I'm coming though. I'm coming down there, man. So
dude,
you got
come on, man.
You got to get that room ready, man. So I'm coming.
Come on.
Okay, so let me show you this real quick here. This is the Hopkinsville stuff here that I presented to Geraldine Stith, who is I think the granddaughter of I forgot her other name, but she's the granddaughter of the family that had the Hopkinsville encounter. And she is actually the one that's kind of carrying the torch for the story at this point. And as we got about 2 minutes to go to break, I'm just going to show a couple of these, and then we can get into the story after this break here. And that's beautiful me right there, actually, on the front. So let me go ahead and go to the next one. Okay, so, and actually, this is a cool thing to look at too, but I've added this because what happened was, and I'll kind of give you the backstory. So there was a video that came out 2019, which we'll end up seeing after the break. It blew my mind because I looked at it and it went viral when it came out, and nobody knew what it was. Debunkers came out immediately and started trying to pick it apart, which they did, which they should. And they looked at it and they got to they came to a conclusion that they believed the video was real, but they tried to explain what was in the video to try to explain it away. So what I did was, it was a weird looking, it wasn't your traditional sort of being or entity. So I went to a list. There's this Joe Nichols alien timeline, which kind of depicts all of the reported type of aliens throughout history. So you'll see, the Flatwoods monster. You'll see the just little green men, hairy dwarves, which I was unaware about hairy dwarves, but they have a lot of different just depictions. The Pascagoula ET is there. The Cyclops, which you see kind of right there, is there. So I had remembered on that list. I went on there to see if there was anything that kind of looked like the thing I was seeing in the video. And it led me to the Hopkinsville, Kentucky ET, and it was because of its ears. There isn't anything else on the list that has big ears or floppy ears. And it was okay. I'm like, okay, these two things match. And so I kind of went further down the rabbit hole, but we're going to go down the rabbit hole in a moment, right after we come back from break. We should have about, I think, like 30 seconds here. Yep, 30 seconds to break. So the only thing that matched was this particular ET. There's like at least 40 or 50 different reported ETs on this list of different descriptions. Mothman, all those things are on this list. So this was the only one that, as my camera goes out, which is great, we're going to break so I can fix it. But it was the only one that actually depicted what we saw in the video. So as we get ready to go to break, we're going to go ahead and jump into Hopkinsville goblins in a video that might depict the Hopkinsville goblins, especially if you know the story, you hear the story, and then you see the video and what's happening in the video. A lot of things line up. We're going to connect some dots. We will be right back in just a moment, right here on Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. Don't go anywhere. Make sure Drew hit the like button, like Drew Banky says as well. We'll see you in just a minute. All right, we are clear, and let me fix this camera as we get ready to come back. We got about 4 minutes, 50 seconds, Drew. If you need to do anything, I'll be right back.
Cool.
All right, we should be good. Yeah, okay, good. Snafus, man, technical snafus. Doing a live show online, and that's why I said to Dave, right? Because he had I was making fun of, because he's in the middle of nowhere in Canada. I was making fun of him being in the middle of nowhere and his infrastructure going down just so easily. You could blow on it and his internet is down. You know what I mean? They're putting it back together with like duct tape and wires and chewing gum and things of that nature. So, you know, and I said to him, I was like, in 2024, we run into issues with live streaming and things like that. But for some reason, back in 1969, they had a flawless broadcast from the moon that was uninterrupted.
Right.
And you tell me how, okay, that's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
There's a lot of people like, oh, the moon happened. The moon thing didn't happen. The moon, I'm not going to say.
They've had way more technology. I got to answer a question real quick from the chat.
Yeah, go ahead. We got about
Paramarv. No, I haven't been on confessionals. I don't think so. I've been on done a lot of interviews, but that doesn't ring a bell. And Brown Dwarf, thanks. Invite sent to the shop.
Yeah. Brown Dwarf has an awesome shop, man. I got to get down there too, man. I'm literally right here, so I need to be down there as well. He has an awesome shop. You go to his page, you can see see the setup and everything.
I've been working on my TikTok lately, trying to get my followers up.
Yeah. It's just, and you have to do it if you are trying to get the message out there. It's just so many media platforms that you have to keep track of and know the curve.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
yeah, but I mean, it's a huge market, and plus, I got the drop date for the interview coming up for Ian Bick. It drops on September 15th or before. So he might change up his how many episodes he drops a week, but mine is scheduled for September 15th at this point.
That's what's up, you guys. Drew Banky is on Ian Bick large podcast. He's going to be on there doing the Drew thing, keeping it real and delivering the message, and you guys got to go support. As it gets closer, we'll definitely be promoting that. We'll be talking about it all the time here, so make sure you guys won't miss it, and we'll definitely be talking about it once it comes out. So this is going to be great.
You're gonna be seeing my face every week, y'all.
Exactly. My guy David Devine broadcasted. Hey, David Devine, miss you, man. I miss you, bro. I got to reach out, man. We got to do something soon here, Dave. We got to definitely do something soon here. That's my guy right there. Really good dude. As we get ready to come back from break here. Yeah, we've got about 30 seconds here. So I'll say you guys.
It's medicinal. It's medicinal.
Hey, it's all good, man. We're in America, man. This is America.
Yeah, man. I'm so pumped. I feel good. I feel good about the future of the world.
Me too. And you're my energy guy, man. So we're good to go. So here we go. 3 seconds back from break. All right. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 2.5. As we're back right here with our guy, Drew Banky, in hour number 3, who will be always our Sunday guy. Is actually filling in for Jax tonight. Jax isn't feeling well. So like I say, everybody wishes out to Jax. We're expecting her back next week. So let's get this thing going, right? Right here at spaceoutradio.com. Don't forget, you could go to our Space Travelers Club, $5 a month. Join our Patreon. We'd appreciate it. All right. So go ahead and jump on in here. We are going to take a look. I was in the middle of talking about, which we have on the screen here, this story, right? So let me just give you the quick, bring you back up to speed. So there was a video, came out in 2019. Amazing video to me. And I will stand on this until someone proves it wrong. I mean, and that's the way it should be. Same way it goes with the Nazca mummies. A lot of people immediately say, oh, mummies, they're not real. Let's go ahead and disregard what's going on. However, you see a year later and some change, the story is still sticking around. There are scientists lining up to go ahead and take a look, and which they should. It should be looked at. Everything should be looked at. It should be vetted. And then once you come to your conclusion, either dismiss it or keep the data. So we're doing that in this case, and I'll bring up the video. We'll see in a minute. You guys have probably all seen this, but just listen to the logic and listen to kind of why, how the dots get connected here. So the video comes out. I see the video. I'm just amazed by it. Like everyone else, it went viral, millions of views, Facebook, everywhere, TikTok. It was on Inside Edition. It made national TV news. People looked at it. Skeptics attacked it, looked at it. And all they could come up with was that, yes, the video is real. So CGI, no. What they ended up saying is that this was a person wearing some sort of costume. Some of you guys already know where I'm going with this when I say that. So moving from that, I'm still shocked by it because there's no way in the world this video depicts an actual human being. It depicts something alive, but it can't be a human being. And we'll take a look at it. But the thing that stood out to me is it had these floppy ears, big floppy ears. You could see the ears flopping. And I'm like thinking to myself, okay, cryptid maybe? Because I haven't heard of any ETs or anything, that have big ears. I just hadn't heard of it. So I went to this list that I knew I already had, this alien timeline, which actually depicts descriptions of different ETs from over time, going back to 1947 with the Roswell, and then covering sightings all the way up till this list was made. And it shows everything. Like I said, Flatwoods Monster on there.
This is Kelly Kentucky Goblin.
Yeah, Kelly Kentucky Goblin is the one we're going to be looking at. But they had the Betty Barney Hill ETs, they had the hairy doors, they had tin cyclops, they had Mothman. So all the different descriptions of ETs over time. So I look at the list, and the only ET on the list that just did match the description of what I was seeing on video was the Kelly Kentucky Goblin, with a Hopkinsville ET, basically is what it is. So if you know that story, There was a family in the forest, or not really in the forest, in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, in the 1950s, 55, I guess, is what the year it shows here. And they had these creatures. This was a depiction of what they looked like at the time. It's the Sutton family. That's who it was. So Elmer Sutton, J.C. Sutton, and O.P. Baker, drawn by Andrew Bud Ledwith. So this was what was drawn. So you see these big ears. You see the how the arms are super long, and they have these claws at the end of them. So, okay, this is very particular as far as the description goes. So, if you see something that aligns with this, what are the chances, right? So, what happened in this case was one of the gentlemen. I don't have all the details sitting in front of me to tell you the names of who saw what, but I know one of the gentlemen were outside, either chopping wood or doing something at the time, saw some sort of spaceship go over with flashing lights on it. It kind of went over the tree line, and he thinks landed in the forest. And then right after that, these creatures begin to come out the forest. They're like silver in tone. Their skin tone is like silver. They have these big glowing eyes, these big floppy ears, and they began to approach him with their arms up in the air. And I think I have a depiction of that, which is, okay, this is them around the house. We'll come back to that. Yeah, exactly. So like this. So this, how this has the arms up. This is how he said they came out of the forest.
And were they illuminated?
They kind of not really illuminated.
Were they glowing or something?
A scent, kind of, but they were more like a silvery tone, right? And you'll see. So keep this all in mind. And what they were doing is they were approaching the house, right? So he runs in the house. Everybody is scared. They don't know why he's doing it. He tells them what's going on. And these creatures kept coming out of the forest all night long. They would come up to the door. They would come up to the window. He had the guns out. They're shooting at these things from inside the house. They hit some of these things. And he said every time he hit one, that it would like do this backflip almost. It would like do a flip, kind of floating, and then kind of land on his feet and then go back into the forest. And then they kept coming all night. So they were scared. They were hearing them on the roof and everything, which is like what's depicted here in this photo.
That's crazy.
One of the times the guy goes outside from the house, and apparently one of these things reaches down from the roof and kind of grabs his hair or something like that.
Oh my God.
So they're all trying to infiltrate the house, right? And that's a key thing, the behavior of these things, right? Because you don't hear, when you hear ETs that come into homes or things like that, they usually can just materialize or just go through the wall or
yeah.
They don't need to be let in this fashion. Like these things can't get in, right? So, okay. So keep in mind that these things were approaching the house all night long. So eventually
on the roof, man,
they're fighting where they're shooting at these things. These things keep coming up to the house. It's from like 8 until 2, 3 in the morning. They all decide that we got to get out of here. So I guess the activity had died down for a moment. So they all ran out to the car. There's like 10 of them or 13. It was like a big group of them. They all ran to the car. They drove into town to the police station and told the police what happened. That, man, it was going down, all these ETs, and they were creatures that come to the house. We were shooting at them. The police followed them back to their home and look up for evidence and things like that. At this point, these things are gone. So this case, there was a lot of media outlets, newspapers, things came into town over the coming days. A lot of tourists came in wanting to see the property and kind of coming in. And as Geraldine Stiff said, they were coming in, taking things as souvenirs from the property. And it was just a circus, right, over time. So this went down as one of the most compelling UFO or ET encounters in history. So fast forward to the current date, to 2019. Now I'm going to show you something that I think potentially.
Can I just point out something before you move off this picture?
Yeah.
So this is from the incident that happened in Kentucky, correct?
Yeah, 1955, I guess, roughly.
Now, is this an accurate picture? Did they just put this dude in a pair of overalls because it's from Kentucky to add to the story?
Yeah.
Or was he actually wearing?
Chances are, in 55, he
Right.
probably was actually. Looks like
Right.
he has a work helmet on too.
Man,
and I
look
don't
at all
think
those people in the window, man. This is obviously this is as close as they can get, but these things, there had to be at least a couple of them that were on the roof. That's crazy. That'd be
Right.
scary. That'd be so scary.
And they could hear them moving around on the roof. Now, here's the thing:
No,
it
man.
wasn't.
I'm
as
not gonna
far
be able
as
to go to bed tonight.
as far as I know, it wasn't this many, but it was a handful of them. And the whole thing is just consider the fact that they were trying to get in the house. They couldn't just come in. They couldn't, they needed to physically be able to come in, like through a door or through a window.
Man.
They couldn't just
I
walk
don't know.
the wall.
What is that?
Now look at this. This is in La Junta, Colorado, and this is what even led me down the rabbit hole. I already knew about this story, and then I didn't connect the dot immediately. I found the video later, and then when I started researching what this thing could be in the video, it brought me back to this story, and I'm like, okay,
Oh man,
a lot of these things line up. So look at this.
Look, the hunt is too
video.
close to me for this. I can't hear this.
Hey, this might freak you out. You've probably seen this, and a lot of people have seen this. So I'm just going to show you here. Let me just bring this up. So this is the video. Famous video. You've seen it a million times.
This is in La Junta. Get out of here.
And we'll watch that again. Let me move my banner out the way here.
Crazy.
Okay. So I want you to just pay, and we're just going to play it a few times because I want to point some things out. So for one, you see the shadow in the right corner. It's coming from the front door. Okay. I want to catch it at a good angle. Look how you can't really tell, but look at the right arm there. Look how far it hangs down below the crotch. Yeah. Look at the leg on that. Look at the proportion of these legs. Floppy ears, all one tone, silver from head to toe. Now, I can't play the news story, but the news came out, inside edition came out. The lady who lives there, she lives with her son. It's her and her son. At the time, he was like 9 years old. And truthfully, he's about the same height as this thing because they did a side by side. Now, he's definitely the same height, but the kid is not this skinny, and the kid's proportions aren't this, And so here, got to look at this. I'll keep playing.
And I bet the kid doesn't walk like he's fallen into. It's about to fall. What happens to the end? What happens to the rest of this?
It's it only records for a certain amount of seconds before it.
Oh yeah.
Stops.
Yeah. It's a ring camera, huh?
Yes. So look at this. Look at the legs, dude. Just keep your eye on the proportions of this for one, and then for two, look how uniform the color is from head to toe. If this was anything living, you'd be able to see the different tones. Here's what skeptics came and said. They said this is the kid that lived there going outside with underwear on his head. This is the explanation they gave. They said this is a kid that went outside with underwear on his head. You tell me, is that the case? Does this, for one, just look like a kid with underwear on his head? Let's start there.
I don't think so. I would love to see. It's a shame that we can't see where it goes, what happens after this. But
look at so next, because here's the thing. Like I said, if it was a kid with underwear on his head, you would be able to see the different color tones. You'd see the underwear, then you'd see his skin on his neck, then you'd see his clothes, and then you'd see whatever else he had on. Everything else has shade and tone in the frame. This thing is uniform, one color from head to toe. No differentiation in from the top of his head to the bottom of its feet. It's one, and it ends up matching the color of the Hopkinsville goblins. Okay, ears, the same tone head to toe, the same idea that it was trying to infiltrate the home. The woman said it was about 9 o'clock when this happened, a little after 9. Her and her son were inside the house. She was freaked out when she saw the video, and she considered that it was probably ET. It lines up a lot with the Hopkinsville ET, is all I'm going to say. There is a frame. If you take it frame by frame, I'm trying to, oh, look at that. Okay, that's the perfect one. So look how long that right arm is. Look how far that arm hangs down.
It's making my hair stand up.
But see, that's what I'm saying. So a lot of the details on whatever this is line up with what the Hopkinsville goblin is. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Not saying it is
Yeah.
But I'm saying there's a lot of things that match up with the story and the behavior. So with that being said, I'll leave it up to you to figure out what you think.
I will say this. I seen a comment the other day, and it was on a post. I can't remember where the post was, but the comment was, no, people aren't going to believe anything until they go out and lick it for themselves. You know, like they're going to have to like touch it, you know, and because there's so much, it's such a far-fetched ideas. A lot of these things, it challenges a lot of things on our mind. You know, fear. You know, it brings up a lot of fear. Like watching this video, I'm sure it's bringing up a lot of fear for everyone's watching it right now, and has watched it. Even though, like, I still stand behind my ideas that, you know, we're all connected. You know, this is one big intergalactic family, and I think we learn it after this. You know, after we get out of the human experience, I think we learn it, but it still triggers fear. Like, to see these things, you know, that many witnesses to the incident that happened in Kentucky, that many witnesses, that many details that going into it. Like, some of it might not be real, but you have to give credit to some of it on the other side of it, you know. And this video right here, you know, it's only like it's within 2 hours of my house. So I've been scared so many times that I've ran inside, you know, seeing things out here.
Drew, you're 2 hours from there.
Yeah,
I'll talk to you offline. I have a really awesome thing I want to ask you then. But here's what I want to say, everybody, and I've stated the case on this. I've stated why this makes sense and why it's plausible. But I just want you to keep looking at this. This is a depiction of the thing, and then this is the video.
I don't want to keep looking at it because the more I look at it, and I think that's part of it, dude. Like, you know, there's I got the studio lights on in here, and there's bugs hitting the windows, so I'm not really happy about
that's right. And you look out your window, and it's pitch black dark out there.
It's dark, dude.
And you got to walk out of there to go to the house. I understand, man.
Yeah.
And all I say is protect yourself, man. And hey, you got healing energy, man. There's nothing that can touch you, man. I'm telling you.
No, I'm waiting to step out at one of these late night interviews and just, you know, there be a ship, and because I think, you know, I still go by, you know, what I've said and what I preach. You know, what I preach, that free will is one of the governing laws of creation, and all beings have to abide by that law. So, but I'm down to take a ride. You know, I'm down. I got my cell phone. It's over halfway charged up. And, you know, if they let me take on the plane, get some video, you know, and, yeah, dude,
well,
I'll come back and I'll drop it on an after hour show.
We got to do it. But President says, I've seen the entities before. That isn't it. Well, you tell me what this is, because what's in this video isn't a human being. So if it's a different type of entity, maybe, I don't know. I can't really say, but I can tell you, when you look at these things side by side, this is a depiction, same color tone, top to bottom. Obviously, this is a drawing, but this is the artist's recreation rendition. Big ears, same tone from head to toe, long arms, longer than normal with the claws, And then when you look at this video, that's exactly what is depicted in this video. So they could be separate things, but there are a lot of things about them that are alike. And that's kind of I think the thing to take home from this is that skeptics attacked this video as much as they could. The only conclusion they could come to, they all agree that whatever it is in the video is real, that it's a real thing. Their explanation is that it's a child with underwear on its head. Now, I don't think you accept that explanation. I wouldn't, because I don't see anything that points to that being the case. I mean, I just don't see that there, a kid with underwear. I just don't. So then we all agree it's real, but what is it?
Yeah,
And the closest thing I found that it matches is Hopkinsville ETs.
But why is it walking? Is it looking for something? Like,
the theory
is that why it's stumbling around? Like,
the theory is it couldn't get in the house. The door was locked. So the theory is it tried to get in the house the same way the Hopkinsville goblins did. The Hopkinsville goblins were trying to do the same thing. They were trying to get in the person's house.
I get it, but we're running out of time. This is my point of the question. Why is it walking around all weird? Is it looking for something it needs? That's
probably.
because both times we can agree, like, it's trying to make entry into a home. But this video right here, we didn't have video of Kentucky. We had with some paintings, but this here, I mean, it don't look like it's doing so hot. So is it looking for something? By the way, Aaron in the chat, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. And there was another person that commented earlier asking who I was. Check me out on past. There's a ton of past interviews, and you get to know me a lot better over the time. But yeah, this is weird stuff, dude. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. I mean, because like I said, this it's a mystery. If any, what I'll say is, please, everybody, look into it. If you could find other things that match that, I would like to know, because that's all I'm doing. I researched it. I did my homework. I did this. I did that. I tied some things together, and that's a conclusion that I came to that's plausible. So if there are any other plausible explanations out there, let them know. We got about 30 seconds, Drew. We about to get out of here. You got to say anything to the people before we go?
Join us next time. I'm going to be sharing about a story about auras, and a personal story, and then we're going to talk about auras.
You heard it. You heard it from the man, Drew. And that'll be next Sunday, because we're hoping next Saturday that we have Jack's back feeling better. And we have the UFO twins, as you saw in the thumbnail. They will be here next Saturday. You got Dave Scott coming in. No show tomorrow, so you can go to Social Dig. We'll have a show there. But I definitely want to thank everybody for coming on in as we get ready to close this thing down. Like I said, the Social Dig will run a show that'll start at 8 p.m. tomorrow. So if you don't know, it's youtube.com/@Mr. Rob G, which it shows up in the upper right corner. And you'll click on videos, and you'll see the premiere that's set up for Sunday. Other than that, Dave Scott Monday through Friday, Jackson Lee on Friday as well. And I'll see you guys on Saturday. To all of we have super chatters. We had Kira coming in with her super chat. And yeah, I definitely want to thank our guest tonight, Jason Gleaves, because he got up 4 a.m. in the UK and to join us here and have a great conversation. Obviously, my guy Drew stepping in here, man. Do appreciate you, sir. And stick around for after then. I'll talk to you in a minute. Definitely want to thank all the space travelers out there. Everybody out there around the globe to listen to the show. We got to thank Bumblefoot for going ahead and rocking us out each and every weekend, teaching us to never say never again, right? Because the phenomenon is real, and it's really something we got to deal with. We have to have these conversations, and we will continue to have these conversations right here on the After Hours radio show. It goes down here, man. 7 days a week at Spaced Out Radio. Make sure you guys come back and share time with us, right? Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Lee and Jax, everybody here at Spaced Out Radio, we love you guys. We'll see you next time.
say it again and again and again and again. Never say, never say, never say, never again.
All right, clear as a bell, clear as a bell. We are going ahead and get out of here. I'm play this video for you guys one more time because that's not a human being. That's some sort of something. And if you guys figure it out, let me know. You can hit me up on Facebook and send me some links and whatever you think you might have found, and we'll go ahead and go from there. You guys enjoy the rest of your night, and we will see you guys soon right here on the After Hours. Let's play the outro music. Here we go.
Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. For your luck with the